Hello and welcome to Shanghai. Monday through Friday on Dragon TV, we bring you stories to explore and decode China. And we'll look at business, tech, urban life, arts and culture, and sports, and everything going on here in the city. I'm Wang Ying. For decades, one of China's wealthiest and most modern cities lived with a problem that felt stubbornly pre-modern. In Shanghai's historic neighborhoods, millions of residents went without private bathrooms, relying instead on chamber pots and public toilets. In 2025, that era finally ended after a long, costly campaign that few cities in the world could have carried out. Today's Institute is going to these communities and tries to see how difficult daily life once was and how something so small ended up driving one of Shanghai's biggest urban transformations.
今早阿拉要去到母龙。How is it that in Shanghai, the greatest city in China, still use a chamber pot until like right before the end of 2025? Whoa.
That wiring.
Throw your poop here. Today, we're taking you through the history of Shanghai's lane houses, the equivalent of New York's tenement housing in the early 1900s. Welcome to the 1960s in China. Why people there had no personal bathrooms for more than half a century, and why Shanghai paid the price of 10 Shanghai towers, so people won't have to use a chamber pot again. The first question, what kind of people still live with chamber pots until recently? Tiles from exactly 90 years ago. Ooh. Whoa. These stairs, a one-way ticket to the nearest orthopedics hospital. And so this whole townhouse is supposed to be owned by one family. This whole house is supposed to share the kitchen downstairs and this one bathroom, but because now different rooms are owned by different families, they had to share this one bathroom. That's another family behind that door. Another family somewhere up there. That's another family back there. And this is Auntie Zhang's room. Right here. She said she, her husband, and her late mother lived for 20 years in this 25 square meter room with no kitchen or bathroom, and it's already the biggest room in this whole house. These in Shanghai are called lane houses, wooden masonry townhouses from the 1930s. The urban legend is that when they were new, well-to-do families would have bought one of these with bars of gold. Well, that's what film star Lily Yuan did. She got hers for the price of 10 gold bars. Owning such a house would have been remarkable, considering during and after World War II's destruction, up to 50% of Shanghainese people lived in slums. 80% of people had no indoor plumbing. After 1949, some of these houses went to the state and were then allocated to the families who lived in absolute poverty. One room for one family, but at least it was better than living in a tent. Others became so subdivided simply because of wartime housing shortages. As swarms of refugees and migrants poured into the city in the 1930s, landlords who owned these houses leased out each room to individual families. And then because so many people lived in the same house, nobody cared about its condition anymore. And because you can't wait in line when you got 5 families with 15 people that need to go at 7 a.m., it's imperative to learn to use this. Okay, I got it. No problem. No need to be grossed out. American cities like New York, Chicago, and Boston went through the same process just about 3 decades earlier than Shanghai. Such housing units were called tenements. When New York City's population doubled every decade from 1800 to 1880, buildings that had once been single-family dwellings were increasingly divided into multiple living spaces to accommodate everybody. They were overcrowded, badly lit, and lacked indoor plumbing. By 1900, 2/3 of NYC's population were in tenement housing. But don't get me wrong, even today, these houses are still one of the most expensive by square meter in this scintillating city. And this is how people had lived in this $500,000 room for 50 years. 妈妈，哎，好了吧，那意思啦，出来不啦？好了，进去，快点给我出来了啊！然后这边出来，我弄灯关它。
哎呀，不要喊嘛，喊啥子嘛？
都在那搞啥么子？搞上喊我，出来！
你上厕所。
Hence, part of that 10 Shanghai Towers money went to Auntie Zhang's. The government worked for 6 months to build a new bathroom in her room, and now she has her own toilet. The remodeling cost the city 50,000 kuai, but Auntie Zhang is just glad she didn't have to pay a penny. Ooh, really gorgeous. Okay, rejoice, because at least that house had a toilet, because the one that we're about to go to has not. Historically, this two-story structure was meant for the servants that belonged to the rich masters that lived in the nice houses like Auntie Zhang's. New bathrooms had just been built for the three families here. Space is extremely limited, so they had to be all over the place. Okay, let me start again. So that family has their toilet in here, and then all of that family, their toilet is here. That's just kind of the reality, because otherwise there would be no space. The city also has block after block of these cheap wooden pre-war homes for the working class of the time, also no bathrooms. Living in this house meant you had to empty the pot outside. But be careful, you got 5 gallons of pee in there. What? Okay, where's the poo pouring station? 关掉啦! These government people just move like grease lightning. Okay. Because the station is no more. I had to search around for 200 meters for a public bathroom to pour out the pee. Disaster. But this wouldn't be weird at all for veteran chamber pod users. If you had lived in a workers' new village like this one, you normally only have one public bathroom at the entrance. If you were to live here in one of these buildings, you would walk out with your chamber pot, and you would go. You would go. You would go. And one walk outdoors for up to 5 minutes to empty their potty in summer heat, thunderstorms, and winter chill alike. And throw your waste here. But back to the question, what are the workers' new villages? Fast forward to 1950, it is now the People's Republic. And to quickly alleviate housing shortages and poor living conditions, the new socialist government dug up massive land plots for these rapid build mass housing units that were called new villages for the workers. They were built without individual bathrooms to save money and increase building speed. Up to 50,000 people eventually lived in these 2 to 4 story complexes that were completed within 2 years. Kitchens were communal, but for many people, it was the first time they had access to tap water. They were also the last group of public housing in the city's history with no in-unit bathrooms. Today, only a small number of them still exist in the original state. This is another family. This is Mr. Huang's room, with a bunch of historians coming in to study. Mr. Huang, his wife, and his daughter had lived almost their whole life in this 15 square meter room. His kitchen has been here. This is Mr. Wang's kitchen sink. His shower has been here, but there'd been no bathroom until the renovation from the government. And here, you're gonna walk like this. Oh, right here. Living in such a complex, it'd be quite normal for facilities to be all over the place, and people are used to that.
This used to be a small kitchen set here. I enjoy cooking, but sometimes I didn't enjoy cooking here because it would always be a bit of a, what is he cooking in? If I would have had this kitchen, I may not have moved out.
Other than toilets, some patchwork has been done. Some district governments felt it'd be easier to demolish the whole thing and reconstruct new buildings with increased living spaces and individual bathrooms. So this will become this in 2028. I called the Housing Commission. They said during the time, families are paid up to 6,000 kwai a month to rent another home. Over the 4 years, that'll be almost 300,000 per family. And eventually, these efforts came up on the local news channel.
The housing renovations that began in the 1990s finally came to a close today, where 1.6 million families who once had to carry chamber pots now have individual bathrooms.
Together, that is over 5 million people, roughly the population of Ireland.
Truth be told, after today, I felt half awful, half impressed. The people we spoke to had lived for decades in these tiny spaces, but they seem to really take pride in what they've done to their home. The amount of care and love they have for the space is visible.
Oh, I must try this today.
While I was here, I also saw some government people from central China's Shanghai province.
Mountains of big shots coming in to visit.
Apparently to learn how they could improve their toilet situation. I guess it kind of makes sense why a city should have 10 less skyscrapers. You could always have as many rich tenants in the skyscrapers as you want, but having proper toilets is part of modern humanity. And then I saw this.
Separate living quarters on
Basically, New York City is subdividing its housing again after 100 years because there are not enough housing units compared to its people. That's not so serious. Just going the way China came. I guess I struggle to understand how New York built multiple skyscraping residential buildings in the past decade while still having this subdividing problem.
Sellers that could potentially be converted to safe units.
By the way, how racist is this? ADU flyer in Bangla, in Chinese, in Spanish? What are we, like the 3 cheapest ethnicities in New York City? Anyway, I guess what I saw today was just an inevitable process as cities grow across the world, from the US to Vietnam. Upgrading aging and substandard housing is a non-stop struggle for as long as the city stands. This is just what China did. So what do you guys think? Were the reconstructions helpful? Let me know in the comment section down below.
Well, that story is a reminder that some of the most profound changes in the city aren't always the most visible. I'm so impressed with Siqi's research about the city's history. If you put your thoughts to it, these eras really are not that far from us. And in the end, a city's greatness isn't just measured by how shiny its skyline looks, but by how comfortably people are able to live. If you've got any questions for us, you can find us on all the socials and all our content online as well. And please do join us here on Dragon TV Monday to Friday. Thank you for watching. See you next time.